My grandmother was right. The boogeyman was real.
It's over.
We can't hurt anyone ever again.
What if Michael Myers came to life on Halloween? To answer this hypothetical question in the most accurate way possible, we have to get a long-standing Michael Myers Halloween question out of the way first, and that is the question of, does Michael Myers have supernatural abilities? It's a question that has long plagued the Halloween franchise, and with the different remakes and sequels by different people living in different worlds, the lines get a little blurry. It is certainly true that some of the past movies have confirmed the suspicions of him having supernatural abilities, like in Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers from 1988, or Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers from 1989. These two movies were setting the scene for his uncanny abilities to be connected to some sort of non-human evil force. I mean, seriously, how many times did we think he was dead only for him to get right back up again? But these movies sit in juxtaposition to Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers from 1995, which placed his origins in some weird demon worshipping cult, which then set the scene for his uncanny abilities to have come from his traumatizing childhood rather than some sort of supernatural force. You see what I mean? It's all really confusing, and it doesn't add up, and this doesn't even take into account the newer made Halloween movies, which for the record, the 2007 one is unreal and definitely a must-watch this Halloween season. I don't know the answer to whether or not Michael Myers exists in a world where he has supernatural abilities, so maybe we should just take a look at both options? Just for the sake of due diligence, I mean. I personally don't believe he exists in a world with supernatural abilities, as I believe that ruins the whole idea of Michael Myers, but maybe that's just my need for some sort of realism in a horror movie. Regardless of my personal preferences, however, let's start off by looking at what would happen if he came to life on Halloween in a world where he did in fact have otherworldly abilities. Just a heads up, minor spoiler alert here for the newest Halloween movie, Halloween Kills. Maybe Michael Myers really is supernatural. I mean, this might be the most accurate angle to look at it from based on the most recent movie, although it's the hardest question to answer. The reason I think it might be the most accurate comes from near the ending of Halloween Kills. Again, spoiler alert. Laurie Strode, played by the incomparable Jamie Lee Curtis, sits in her hospital bed as she narrates, quote, "I always thought Michael was flesh and blood like you and me, but a mortal man could not have survived what he's lived through. The more he kills, the more he transcends into something impossible to defeat." End quote. This sort of shows that there is this belief in the world that the more he kills, the stronger he gets, the harder he is to defeat. Absolutely terrifying, but a great movie plot. This of course, however, insinuates some sort of higher power and abilities, some sort of force that he acquires through his gruesome, deadly crimes. Well, if he has these abilities, that's gotta mean that someone else in the world also does, right? I mean, what are the chances that Michael Myers just happens to be the only one? It's gotta be slim to none, so assuming that Michael Myers came to life on Halloween and had supernatural abilities, there would probably be some super cool hero that swoops in to save the day in some sort of epic battle. Or we'd all be running for our lives and hiding from him until the end of time. Or maybe if he had supernatural abilities, we'd see a real life version of Freddy vs. Jason, because anything is possible in a world where the paranormal and the superhuman really do exist. I mean, in this scenario, we're making stuff up that doesn't exist, so really, the possibilities are as vast as our own imaginations. We could sit here talking about it all day and never run out of what ifs, because we are talking about something that doesn't exist. If he was the only supernatural being around and somehow got caught, he'd probably find himself in some sort of Area 51 type deal where he would be heavily guarded, contained in the strongest material we have on Earth, and he'd be subjected to a multitude of studies to figure out how this could have happened and where these powers are coming from. He'd be considered the most fascinating being on Earth, and everyone would be trying to sneak a peek. Not to mention how many stories and urban legends there would be surrounding him. I mean, more than there are now. Imagine the stories your older brother could make up to scare you in a world where supernatural Michael Myers actually exists. I'll tell you, it'll beat the demon in the toilet story my brother told me as a kid that made me scared to use the washroom. Yeah, We'll save that story for another day. So what if Michael Myers, like the Rob Zombie 2007 version who's just a crazed killer, came to life on Halloween? Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be in whatever town he became reanimated in, but the good news is that a mortal man is much easier to take care of than a supernatural one. No hero to save the day is necessary, and honestly, depending on the potential victim he chooses, perhaps no one else needs to be involved at all. Don't get me wrong, Michael Myers is a large person who wouldn't be an easy feat for anyone, but this is 2021. People have weapons, and those weapons are often much stronger than someone's flesh. Michael Myers is not some elusive serial killer who spends his time hiding and planning to ensure he doesn't get caught. We're not talking about the Zodiac killer, we're talking about the man who walks so slow you have yourself wondering how Laurie can't get away. Maybe this is the more realistic Michael Myers and is more true to what the original 1978 movie intended. I mean, if we take the 2018 Halloween movie, which was intended to be a sequel that picked up 40 years after the original left off, which for the record established the 5th timeline of the franchise. Yeah, I know, it's hard to keep up, but again, we'll figure it out. This movie again seemed to place Michael as a very real and human-like killer who is simply just fixated on Laurie and will stop at nothing to get her. This sequel was perhaps the most true to the original out of all of the Halloween movies there's been, but then the new Halloween Kills is the follow-up to that, and it sits in this different world. You see what I mean when I say that this question has been plaguing the franchise for years? It simply just doesn't make sense, and I need answers. If a real human mortal Michael Myers came to life on Halloween, whoever had the misfortune of meeting him would probably end up calling the police. We're talking about this happening on Halloween night, which unfortunately is one of the busiest nights of the year for law enforcement, so it's possible a wait time might be a little longer than usual, but to be fair, the words deranged killer attacking me tends to speed things up a bit in the world of emergency response times. But truly, the bottom line here is that in a world where this happens, there'd be no sequel movie because he'd either be killed almost immediately or he'd be in prison. I wish there was a more interesting answer to that question, but a human Michael Myers would receive human consequences. Alright guys, thank you so much for checking out today's video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Happy Halloween, LBQ fam, stay curious, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!